Hello, Internet and Universe. Hi, my name is Mia Park. Welcome to In Response Interviews with Intriguing Internalizers. So, I am based here in Chicago, Illinois, and have been really honored to interview cool people from around the world about their internal responses to the outside world. It's July 14th, 2020. We're still rocking the COVID pandemic, and we're still fighting for racial justice. And that's the outside world right now. And coming at us live from Boston, Massachusetts, we have Nathaniel Braddock. Hi,
Hi there,
Nathaniel.
man. It's nice to
Hi.
meet you.
Oh, you too. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nathaniel is an amazing musician, and he is music educator and composer. One of my favorite bands seeing live ever was actually your Occidental Brothers dance band. Did I get the proper name of it right?
The Occidental Brothers Dance Band International. Dance
Sorry, I
Band
forgot that's
International.
right.
Yeah,
Dance Band International Dance.
it's a mouthful. I think I'm the only person in the band that remembers the exact name.
Well, it was your band, so at least somebody. It's good that you knew the name of the band. But that was like just a fantastic, truly international band.
Mhm.
That was actually extremely danceable. So Nathaniel would play with this band, and at little neighborhood bars in Bucktown, the Charleston, and at other venues, and it was just a joy to come see you play. And since then, you've lived in Australia with Julie, also a friend. Hi, Julie, and your son, and now you're back in America in Boston.
Mhm.
So, is there anything else you'd like people to know about you?
Sure. Well, that group, Occidental Brothers, is still active. It's gone through a lot of changes over the years, and that we started out playing at the Charleston there in Bucktown, but then I don't know, a few years later we were playing at the Kennedy Center and Lincoln Center and doing that kind of stuff is a little nuts. And right now we're working on um, a piece that is kind of a long form dance piece with a choreographer based in Brooklyn. And we've been working on that for the last couple of years. We were going to do a big premiere this coming fall. It's slowly getting pushed back and pushed back because of it was going to be in the inaugural season of this museum that's a section part of the Brooklyn Museum. But now they can't build it out because people haven't been able to work in New York City, and now timelines are all kind of screwy. But the choreographer's name is Edisa Weeks, and it's a three freestanding dance pieces called Three Rights. And we've been working mostly on the last of the three rights, life, liberty, and happiness, with the happiness section because she spent much of her childhood in Uganda. Her mother's from Uganda, and her family group was there until they had to flee the Amin government. Um, and so the music that we played was very familiar to her when she heard it. And so now we're working on this collaborative piece. I mean, she obviously is the principal creator. We're providing music, and we're also part of the live performance, and it's with dancers, and it's about kind of bringing in sort of these sounds, and we're starting to work on some of the other ones too. So we've that's one of the things that's keeping me very active because we're continuing our conversations of how to keep all of the participants, all the makers that are involved, the dancers and the musicians, how to keep everyone engaged with this because a lot of the topics that she's presenting in the piece are really um, more present in our lives now than well, as present and perhaps but uniquely articulated now, with everything that's been going on, not just with the virus but with a lot of the social justice movements in and how that has uh, really how that conversation is really playing out in our American society right now. Um, yeah, it's a super heavy time to be a human. Um, we're trying.
Is isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So
so that's
can you?
that's a little bit what's going on here. Please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. So thanks for sharing more about yourself. I'm wondering, let's check in with whatever the outside world looks like to you, and then if you could please continue and let us know what your response is from your inside world.
Yeah, well, the outside world, I mean, I guess there's a lot of different ways you could define the outside world at this point. My, I'm going to start with a little bit of the inside world, which is, being fortunate to have a family that is close and able to live together right now is an incredible blessing. And I'm really lucky. We are very lucky as a family, despite the challenges, that neither my wife nor I have to be out working in as essential workers, either in hospitals or in that we're able to make our income without having to work in, say, grocery stores or something like that. I mean, those people who are doing all those jobs are yeah, incredible heroes to me right now. It's we're fortunate not to be able to do that. So when I look outside, I see both what's going on in the culture of our part of this city we're living in. I'm also looking at what's going on in America, and I'm also really tuned into like what's going on globally. Part of being involved in non-American music styles is that a lot of my friendships are with people that live in other parts of the world, and I've traveled to a lot of other parts of the world, and spent a fair amount of time in West Africa, including just about a year ago. I was there for a month working on a big project, and I went back to grad school as part of being a musician. I just wrapped up a master's where I'm writing about sort of West African guitar traditions, and going to be doing a PhD as in addition to doing like all this music stuff, which is kind of a nutty thing I didn't really anticipated. Um, but yeah, I think it's really been important for me to kind of keep in tune with how the virus is impacting. Now obviously we're talking a lot about Brazil, but like different African nations, and there's a lot going on in South Africa right now as their numbers have ticked up. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways to look at it, and and there's so much in what's happening in America and how there's so many, with following the George Floyd murder and how people have taken to the streets, and like people are really struggling. Myself, I'm struggling with knowing how to be part of um, the nation in a way that I want to, but also being safe, having while also being in proximity. Like I'm not young, and young people aren't safe anyway. Um, but I also have immunocompromised people in my immediate vicinity, and you can't. To me, being part of a protest where maybe I get sick, but then I endanger other people is not possible. So it's been troubling looking out and feeling a little helpless at times, wanting to participate, wanting so much for there to be change at many different levels. But I guess I deal with that internally by thinking about the reflecting upon my own history and relationships that I've had both in this music and outside this music, and trying to interrogate a little bit about what advantages I've had
Hmm.
being in
Actually, sure. And actually, it's so very curious in what you're talking about. If we can do a little deep dive on it, because
sure,
I mean, you're obviously a very extremely intelligent musician, and you've always been a part of that kind of like African dance music vibe via
sure.
guitar. That's mostly how I've experienced you. So, being a white American dude, how do you feel maybe culturally, or how do you feel being who you are? Again, you just talked about like starting to talk about privilege,
Hmm.
playing music from Africa.
Right. Well, it's a it's a it's I don't have a complete answer worked out yet. It's super complicated, and since sort of reluctantly rejoining the world of academia at all. I mean, I got out of my undergraduate college education and beat a path in the other direction as quickly as I could. Um, I'm involved in a situation now where there's some really important and complicated conversations about the roles of uh, white and white male and straight white male people in all parts of the academy, but certainly,
Wait, can we just say the world, like straight white older
sure,
men? There's a problem. Go
yeah. I
ahead,
mean,
sorry.
and it's tough because um, I'm all three of those things, and I haven't necessarily committed the specifically a lot of the sort of crimes against other parts of the community, but like the important thing to do is to really take a little bit of a harder look at what advantages I have had. And I think this goes for everyone needs to sort of think about this. And it's important to be generous with yourself, but it's also important to be honest with yourself. Like, I've had the opportunities to, like, build these relationships because I grew up in a middle class house with the parents that wanted to pay for me to go to college, and so I had a lot of benefits along the way. And so it's a continuing conversation I'm having internally about my role within African music. But at the same time, like, when I go and I work with musicians in Ghana or Mali or wherever, like, they're really happy to see me, and they enjoy sharing what they share. So it's a complex thing, and so people that are involved in ethnomusicology like fall into a couple of camps, and some are really involved in sort of the decolonialization process of academic fields in general. And you know it's so that's a bit of where my it could be I don't want to get too deep into, like, the discussion for this our conversation right now, but um it's something that everyone needs to interrogate within themselves. you know,
Thank
it's not.
you.
Yeah,
No, that's a great opinion. And I think that, I'm going to put in my lens on what you're saying, but
sure.
I think that it sounds to me like you're being a genuine ally. I mean, you're just talking from your heart. And because I've known you for a while, you've been very passionate about this music authentically for a long time. And I think the fact that your appreciation and your humility towards that, like, fantastic music form, and go into the source of working with musicians there, I think that kind of allyship is really needed in the decolonization in ethnomusicology. So thank you. And I like, you just sound super real about it. So thanks, because there's a lot of people who might force that issue, especially with this heightened awareness of racial inequality. And especially because you're actually literally going to Africa to study music from there and then bringing it back to America. That kind of just echoes of a lot of potential problems, but I don't think you're causing those problems. I think you're part of that solution. So thanks, man.
Try to be, but you always gotta check in with yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, I'm going to give a shout out Jenny Urban. Hi, Jenny. She gives a
Ah,
shout out to Nathan.
yeah,
They've got that Old Town School connection, right?
for sure.
For sure, for sure. So, you were a longtime music teacher at Old Town School and other places. So, have you been able, like, through your teaching lens, and you're also a father of a 9-year-old, what's the world look like to you as an educator and father?
It's tough. I haven't been seeking out as many students recently, but since people have entered quarantine like mid-March, I've had lots of people reach out to me because they're stuck at home and they have the time to play music, which I think they're finding very nurturing. But also, I think people really are hungry for this sort of interpersonal connection and the conversations that are part of teaching. And I know that's a huge part of what I'm in it for, is just building those relationships with people, um, and talking about the craft of the music and the history of the music. For my Yeah, I think any parent of a sort of a certainly elementary school kid like me, I won't comment on older kids, though I imagine something similar. It's been disastrous. It's just been so hard. I know teachers of in public school teachers are struggling to do a good job with the resources they have, but it's just been devastating for kids. we talk about this with our, with our son. He's been doing great, like considering that it's just a horrible situation with these kids. Like, I mean, it's going to be it's the defining experience of their lives, like not even childhoods, right? That they're here, they're not able to see
I'm
their
going to
friends.
pause and say your lips to God's ears, as the phrase goes, because who knows what the future holds for a
Yeah,
9-year-old? Who knows what it's going to be like in 30 years? But for now, for sure, what you said. And I hope this is the worst thing that happens in your son's life. I hope it doesn't get more intense than this.
yeah. I mean, and I guess even if it does, like this is sort of the beginning of a lot of, I think, the way in which we're going to view the world, all of us for a while. Um, but it's been tough. Like the children are forced into like isolation. If their kid is fortunate to have a sibling, then they've got some kind of kid interaction time. But that's often not the case. Um, and we're fortunate to be able to have a couple computers and a tablet that he can be on and he can research stuff. And like a lot of families don't have that stuff. They don't have like even an internet system to try and stay in touch with the remote learning. Um, it could be worse, but it's really rough, and you can only think that like they're I don't know. It's really interrupted the my sense of what his childhood is like, having been a child myself, and thinking of like our children's childhood as being somehow in parallel with our own, and we think about our own experiences in the summertime when they're having their summertime, and it's just like, well, now there's like there really isn't an analog, right, to this experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is this
So,
is
uh, so do you have trust in the future, Nathaniel?
I don't understand the question.
Hmm. Let me rephrase it a slightly different way. Do you have hope for the future?
Um, at times, I'm pretty hopeful because I generally think that people are good and that we'll fix problems and we'll be kind to each other. I mean, I try to be kind to people. A lot of people I know do. Um, but I also see the earth dying, frankly. Um, and I feel this is not the first pandemic, but I can't help but think it's just like it is this the way in which this pandemic has spread reveals so much that is I talk I I've been talking a lot with a couple friends of mine. I have this drummer Micaiah, who's a Chicago guy you may know. We talk a lot. We're both parents, and we spent a lot of time playing music together. Um, and he's just like, the virus, it makes everything worse. Just everything that's bad, it just makes it like harder. And to me, like I mean, that's absolutely true. And what I feel it does is what it like further, I'll say, it just it makes to me it makes me perceive all the things that are big problems much more clearly, and it has to do with like things like, as much as like global travel is a wonderful thing, it's actually really damaging to our earth and to our environment. And that's how this stuff has spread, is like because now, you know, um, the way in which viruses can become global so quickly has everything to do with like global economy, right? It's all about like our current economic system. And a lot of this stuff ties into the deforestation as well, because
Mm,
as humans are like going in and they're getting deeper into like these ecosystems that have been sort of undisturbed and allowed to sort of be their things, and then humans are sort of putting themselves in contact with these other creatures and disrupting these ecosystems that have been fairly stable, and viruses are jumping to humans. I mean, it's similar to what's happened with Ebola it's similar, what's happening with these various coronaviruses that have been coming out. They, over the last couple of decades, um, and then the way in which governments are responding also reveals sort of like the worst of like our larger structure. So I guess my hope lies kind of in the hands of people like you and me and our children, like individuals. And
Hmm.
my my darkness has a lot more to do with kind of institutions and um well, there are some people with bad intentions as well. But like what the
I think,
pandemic revealed about sort of healthcare and access um, to healthcare and sort of the mendacity of certain aspects of our power structure to like really punish members of our society by not providing the infrastructure they need. Like people in cities are being punished by our current presidential administration. People in on the coast are being punished, and it's awful. But I don't want to go so dark. But like that's yeah.
hey,
Hope for
Ben,
the future. I don't know. I'm voting for Joe Biden. I don't care. A lot of people like I voted for Bernie Sanders, and I really was hoping that he would be the nominee. He's not, but like it's too important, and I just think that people will got to show up, and things change slowly. They don't change fast.
yeah, I agree with.
We can be in a much better place a year from now if people um, really think about other people.
Oh, thanks, Ben. You said a lot. I agree with a lot of what you said. I also voted for Bernie. And yeah, it's individuals and it's institutions. There are good institutions out there. There are horrible institutions.
There
And
are
there
horrible
are
institutions.
awful individual human beings that are like running our country and the education systems in our country. However, I appreciate you being honest with being dark. We all got it in us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to deny and not sit with that darkness is denying all of yourself. And if you deny part of yourself, you can't fully experience everything. So I appreciate that. But cool, man, we're at about time. So thanks again. We could just go on and on, but it was so cool of you to join and add into this like fabric of conversations we're all having. So it was
Yeah.
really good to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Mia. I think it's really great that you're not just connecting with individuals to talk to, but you're connecting this sort of larger community by broadcasting it. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks. And speaking of widening the broadcasting realm, these are going to be podcasts soon. So stay tuned for
Oh,
that. Yeah, cool. So, and I'll let you know more about that later, Nathaniel.
okay.
So thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. This has been In Response, interviews with intriguing internalizers, and Nathaniel Braddock coming at us from Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Take care. See you, Nathaniel.
Thank you.